Hey guys, welcome. This is Knives. Today I'm going to be going over the Freezadin build for Project Diablo 2 Season 2. Um, this is a Frost build. The idea for this build comes from other videos. Uh, Shout out to those guys. I'll put the videos in the description, so check those out. Um, this is just my take on this build. It's a pretty old build. I think people have been playing Freezadin been playing Oli Freeze for a while in Diablo 2. It's not new to this mod or so. It's just there's just nice items and nice things you can do in this mod to make this build really strong. Um, so quickly, I'll show you the numbers. I can get up right now to 30 to 32k damage. Um, talk about my gear shortly, show you what I could improve. I think I could still push a little bit higher, maybe 33, 34. We'll see. So this isn't 100% finalized yet, this build, but I still wanted to get it out there. I think it's in a pretty good place right now. So first off, some of the pros and cons of this build. So pros, it's a fast mapper. It's probably the highest damage Origin of Season 2. If you'd like to prove me wrong in the comments, please go ahead. I'd be really curious to see what you guys have come up with. One of the big pros of this build is that it wasn't nerfed like all the other aura builds of the Pallies. We're not using the defensive auras along with some items, and we're not using Salvation really to get damage here. So we're using these two skills just as synergies, so we're not the fact that they nerfed these two skills doesn't really impact us. They didn't nerf Holy Freeze at all, so this build is very, very strong, I think, at the moment, and it's been one of the sleeper build for the season. I haven't seen anyone else play this, um, but I haven't been in a lot of pub games either, so I've been playing solo a lot or with friends. Um, so other pros of this build, it's a very safe build. You freeze the mobs that you encounter. You either one-shot them or you freeze them generally, so it's very safe, and it could be made safer if you use some some PDR gear and so on. If you're playing hardcore, for example. Um, Another advantage of this build is that the starting gear is very cheap, and the Grand Charms are very cheap because we're using offensive. Grand Charms probably the only person using offensive. Grand Charm, maybe like Sanctuary Paladins or other builds of like that use these types of charms as well. Um, then the cons for this build, you're dealing with frost immunities, so it's probably the worst immune. Mobs have very high res to frost, and it's very hard to break, so that's kind of a bummer. You're using charge a lot. Charge is a bit of it's a fun skill, but sometimes it can be buggy, so I think that's probably a disadvantage for some people. But if you're used to seeing Dragon Dins and that kind of gameplays, we're kind of on the same in the same dimension here. Next, we'll talk a little bit about the playstyle and gameplay, and while we do so, I'll overlap some map footage, some a cow map probably. So we're using the native Holy Freeze aura for this build. So we're really boosting that up, getting as much plus skill as we can to boost that up, and then we're using it. We use Charge, Zeal, and Joust. We're mainly using Charge when we're solo. We can use Zeal when the mobs are a little bit tougher for bosses and so on. And we're using Joust to move around and reposition our mercenary. As far as farming spots for this build, in LOD I recommend Travancore and Ancient Tunnels. Since this is a frost build, I think Ancient Tunnels is a great place to get started. As soon as you have a bit of gear and your damage is around 15k, maybe a little bit more, 18k, you can go into T1 maps. The best ones are Runes of Visgen and Bastion Keep. There are some frost immunes in there, but they are easy to skip. Or if you want, you can have your merc kill them, but in my opinion, probably gonna waste your time doing that. So in the ruins, the frost immunes are the casters. They're spread out. You can easily skip them. And in Bastion Keep, it's the goats that are running around, so you can skip those as well pretty easily. They're not really hard mobs at all, and you'll do really good damage on everything else. Um, Once you get stronger, you can go into T2 and T3 maps. I found that um, the best maps for this build are Blood Moon maps and Ancestral Trial maps, as you can see. At first I was doing a bit more different maps, but then I realized that I could just sustain these two pretty easily, as you can see, and focus on these two, and that's really where I was able to do the best work. So that's it for really the areas and the gameplay. As far as stats and breakpoints. So stats, pretty simple. Strength, enough to equip your gear. Dexterity, enough to equip your gear as well, and to get max block with Holy Shield. And then what else? The rest you put into Vitality, of course. Right now I'm in normal, so I'm gonna go in hell real quick. There we go. All right. Other breakpoints that are important for this build. So the all res breakpoint, of course, is very important in hell if you want to survive. And next, I would say the increased attack speed breakpoint is really important for this build. So I'm using a phase blade. So my breakpoint is 72. So I'm running 80. I think that's a really important breakpoint, and I'll talk about that a little more when we go over the gear. Other than that, FHR, I think you should probably shoot for 27. I was really lucky in the chimes that I found in some of my gear, so I'm able to get 48, which is nice. And then I think Life Leech and Mana Leech are pretty important for this build as well. You're not doing a ton of physical damage, so high Life Leech is really going to help you. And I'd say Life after kill and Mana after kill also are some key stats if you want to sustain and not be chugging potions all the time. So to me that's really important. Now into the skills that we're using. Pretty simple for the skills. First thing you do is you boost Holy Freeze, then you boost all the synergies for Holy Freeze, so Blessed Aim, Resist Cold, and Salvation. Then I like to put a point in Vigor, and of course 1 point in Holy Shield, 1 point in Joust, and the rest of the point I put in Zeal to get more attack rating for bosses. So that's it for the skills. Now let's talk about the gear. Um, so for the gear, the weapon that I use is Azure Wrath. I don't think there's really anything that comes close to this one for this build. The Sanctuary Aura gives you some magic damage, different than the cold, so that's really helpful for the immunes. It also makes it so that all the undeads that you're gonna encounter are pretty much gonna get one shot all the time. It's a really nice thing to have. Then it gives 1-all skills. It's a phase blade, so it's got good attack speed. It's got 30% increased attack speed on top of it. Then it's got some elemental damage. You can get it to 4 sockets. What I've done is I've put 4 cold facets in it. So to me that's really the best choice really for the weapon slot. For the helm, I'm using Nightwing's Veil. The helm really makes the build. I think it's one of the first piece you should try to get. So 2-all skills, some cold damage, some minus to enemy cold resistance. Mine has 2 sockets. I put 2 5/5s cold facets in there. So you're gonna see a pattern here. We're using a lot of facets in our gear. So that's really a super important piece. Then the amulet, I'm using Crescent Moon with 1-all skill corruption. So what I really like about this amulet is the fact that it gives, of course, 2 to cold skills and also 10 increased attack speed. So it gives increased attack speed. I'm gonna talk about later how much that's important to get our breakpoint and everything. As far as armor, we're using Ormus robe, 3 sockets, cold facets again. It's a 15 cold damage. Ormus thunderstorm. The skill really doesn't matter, but um, that's what we got. So this is a really good armor. Does a buttload of damage, as you can see. um, I've the the next best thing would be a two skilled 3 socket Griswold corrupted with 1 all skill, and even that it doesn't come close to as much damage. So this is really the best in slot armor in my opinion. So even that 3 skill 3 socket armor is not doing as much damage for this build. Next is the shield. I think the Hawes is still a really great shield. Really no other option I think for this build. Even with the changes they made to it, I think it's a very OP shield still, and I can't really go without it. The all res is pretty key. The skills, the block, the AR. So mine again has 3 sockets with the facets, really boosting our damage. For the gloves, we're using Dracul's. You really need attack speed in that slot, so the options are pretty limited there. I think Dracul's is great for the life stolen and the life after each kill. If you want to have like sustain and survivability, that's really the gloves that you want. Mine have increased attack speed corruption again to reach our 80, 80 attack speed breakpoint. The belt, so this is a nice belt that they boosted, I guess, this season, that they upgraded and now gives 2 to cold skills, so really nice for this build. I get a 10% increased attack speed corruption. So what we're doing here is we have 30 on the sword, 30 on the gloves, 10 here, 10 here. So reaching our breakpoint using these pieces that give a lot of plus skills. So I think that's really giving us the maximum damage output. Also other nice stats, max gold resist and 25 gold resist. So this was really hard to find. Not a lot of people are corrupting snow clashes, and I think when they get increased attack speed, they maybe throw them away or they don't put them up for trade. So that was kind of hard to find. I'd love to get a 35 resist one because it would boost my cold resistance up higher. I still have a lot of room to grow there. I could get 14 more cold resist there. Would be really nice. So if I could get this 10 on this belt, I'd be really happy, but this is the only one I could find with the right corruption. For the gloves, we've got 2 BK rings. I really like this one, 3 life after each kill, 5 life leech. This one kind of helps me on my poison resist, but I'd love to get a mana after each kill instead for the corruption. Or mana leech, second best probably. For the boots, this is kind of a slot where it's open. You can choose whatever you want. You're probably going to want some res on there because, as you can see, I don't have a lot of res on my gear. Really only the Haws and the belt are giving me res at the moment. So the boots is an important slot for that. So I have some dual res boots with some FHR, faster run walk, cannot be frozen, and cherry on top they have their eth and they have repair 1 durability. So but other really good option I think is Alders with cannot be frozen corruption, or any boots that have good res and some cannot be frozen corruption would do good here. As far as the charms, Bally Torch, Annie. The Annie could be improved still, not great. Bally Torch is pretty good. Offensive GC, so that's really nice. Those are super cheap. Um, I have some nice lifers. I'm not quite done yet. I need some 2 more good ones. Small charms. This is the best small charm I've found so far this season. I love it. I wish I had 7 of those. Um, the other ones, some nice FHR, um, small charms as well, and that's about it. So between the 10 FHR that we have on the boots and the one that we have on those nice little small charms here, we're able to get our 48 breakpoint. But if you don't have FHR on the boots or on your charms, you're probably, and on these charms as well, you should probably shoot for 27 there. So that's it for my gear. My mercenary now, he's running level 8 Might Aura. This is cell phone armor. I puzzle boxed it for one socket. Sad face. What I put in there was a minus 15 requirements jewel. The Vampire Gaze is a CBF Vampire Gaze. Again, puzzle boxed it for one socket only. Rune to kind of help with the resistances. Gold Riders, Eth, a String of Ears, Dracul, and a Reaper Stole. So really, usually what I'm going for with my merc is just as much survivability as I can. So PDR here, PDR here, life leech, life leech, life leech, life leech. So I just don't want to have to deal with rezzing this guy. So, and then for the weapon, we have a Reaper Stole, Ethereal, 3 sockets, Ethereal, 3 sockets, with some shell runes in there. I thought about making Infinity, but I think using a Frost build, I saw the spreadsheet. I don't think that's going around. I don't think you can break any of the Frost immunes when you're solo in maps. So I don't think Infinity is really worth it. Maybe you guys can give me your opinion in the comments. I love the Reaper Stole because what it does is it removes physical immunities. So when I get mobs that are both cold and physical immune, those are kind of tough for me and my merc. So at least my merc can remove his own immunity and kill the mob, and I'm just kind of helping him with my other types of damage, and it's pretty smooth. So that's why I use this. So again, if you think I should put something else in there instead of those runes, I think those runes are pretty good because I'm not getting much attack speed. You know, I don't have fanaticism or anything like that. So obviously 40-15s would be great for this, but I don't have those at the moment. But if you have other suggestions you think would be better, let me know. That's it for the merc. So for my gear and my damage, I think this is the piece that I still need to upgrade. Right now it's a 13-7 2-socket Nightwing. I could get a 15-10 3-socket. That's probably the last upgrade I can make to really push that damage higher. My Annie could be improved as well. Like I said, this corruption here, the frost resist here, some of the rolls maybe. But otherwise, I'm pretty satisfied with where this build stands at the moment. If you're starting off with this build and you want to know like what kind of intermediary gear can I get, for the weapon, I'd recommend this same sword, just with one socket and a shell rune, is a great sword to start off with. It's going to do great work. For the armor, like I've said before, I think to start your character, Griswold armor, 3 sockets, 2 skills is gonna be really good for this build. For the helm, get the Nightwings as quickly as possible, but if you don't have one, you can use a Griswold crown along with the armor. The set bonus is gonna give you 2 to offensive auras on the helm, and you have the 2 sockets by default, so that's gonna be really good to start off with. This you can get just without the corruption, it's really cheap. You can get a cheap Haas to start off with, doesn't matter if it's +1 combat skills. It's gonna work. Boots, like I said, Alder probably gonna help you have some resist and be tankier. The rings you can probably start off with a Raven Frost and something else. Snow Clash, just get a basic Snow Clash, super cheap. And a pair of Draculs really gonna help you, even if it's just 20 increased attack speed. So you can start off the build like that. Just get a random Azure Wrath, 1 socket, put a shell in it to reach your breakpoint. when I was transitioning to endgame with this build and I was starting to put the facets in, what I did is I kept 2 runes in my shield with an increased attack speed jewel. And when I got the torch, the Annie, and some of the small charms, I was finally able to remove everything that was in the Haas to put some more cold facets and get and still have like decent like good resists. So that's kind of what I did. Um, that's about it. I think that covers it for the build. Next up, what I want to do is I want to try to kill Declone with this build. I think it's doable by switching some of the components out, switching some pieces of gear. So that's going to be my next project. It's not going to be like a super efficient way to kill Declone, but I hope that I can kind of do it for the PDEs that I find myself and so on. Um, to finish off this video, I'm going to show you some footage of a T3 map clear. So I hope you enjoy that. Um, thanks for watching. I hope uh, you like this build. I hope you try it yourself, maybe next season or this season. I think this is really a sleeper build that not many people are playing. I haven't seen anyone else so far playing it. It's super strong, super fun, super cool. You know, having a Frost Paladin. Um, it's super, I'd say high ceiling. As you can see, you can just go nuts with the facets and take the damage really high. So it's a really fun build. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Enjoy this footage of me clearing an ancestral trial map, and I'll see you soon for another update. We'll try to kill Declone with this build. Thanks. See ya.